Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to everyone for this beautiful program, wherein I'm going to introduce you all to a renowned, a board certified art therapist and a registered yoga teacher, Stephanie Wray, who hails from uh, United States of America, from Florida, and she's here to tell us all about her journey, her voyage into art, her adventures, and how art can help us in knowing about ourselves and discovering about ourselves and to express ourselves. She is an expressive arts facilitator who's here to tell us all about art therapy and who can actually uh, take up or participate in this classes or courses that she is currently having in digitally right now because of the corona pandemic. So thank you so much everyone for joining in. And Stephanie Wray, thank you so much for coming in and joining with us this beautiful evening. Thank you so much for giving us this precious time for us. And please tell us about yourself, Stephanie.
Okay, thank you. First, I just want to thank you for having me, and good evening to everybody. Good morning for anybody from the United States watching, and everybody else. So a little bit about me. Well, right now I am a board certified art therapist, as you said, a yoga teacher, an expressive arts facilitator. And what that means is I use all different modalities of arts to help people express themselves and kind of find their inner selves and just document their journey through creativity and even find the creativity that maybe they had and lost. Since graduating, I have worked with response after disasters such as earthquakes and the shootings and hurricanes and things like that through a program called Stars of Hope, where we paint 12-inch wooden stars and we send them forward to other disaster sites. So it's kind of people paying art forward, giving people hope through a visual piece of art. So I was doing that, and then I work one-on-one with clients, and I also hold groups for people wanting to know more about art as process. I also have therapeutic groups, which I can talk about. There's a little bit of differences between the few, just in regards to laws and licensures and things like that. But we can all do art. That is not licensed, okay? So the expressive arts facilitation is more in that lane of how I could help people long distance and things. I was born in Texas, and I've lived in Cambridge, Massachusetts, Boulder, Colorado, Austin, Texas, El Paso, Texas, and now I live in the west coast of Florida, which is awesome because I'm pretty close to the ocean and I find water very healing, meditative, and it's pretty nice here all year long. So I feel very grateful and blessed to live in such a beautiful place. I was not an artist, a visual artist growing up. When I was about 24 years old, I drove home from my job as a waitress, which I was a waitress for 10 years from like 17 to 27. And I was about 23 and my apartment was on fire. So I drove up and there was flames coming out the bedroom window. And I, of course, ran around the corner. I ran towards the fire. So we either fight, flight, or freeze, right? That's what we do. And so I was going to fight. I don't know what I was thinking, but that was my instinctual thing to do. And as I was running around, it was an apartment building and the windows just blew out and glass like shattered everywhere. And so, of course, I ran away. And when it was all over, I had nothing but the clothes on my back. Everything was destroyed. And so that kind of sent me into what I call, I'm kind of a healing, I would say a healing crisis. It kind of like opened up all those wounds that I hadn't dealt with, right? Like just childhood stuff and just stuff. And so it kind of started me on a journey to healing and discovering my true self and just honoring what that was. And the way that it happened was, well, first of all, for about 6 months after that, like I just couldn't stop crying. And before that, I was a person that was like this. Like I really didn't have a big range of emotion. Like I didn't really ever get mad. I didn't really ever get sad. I was just kind of like, That was always funny. So I used humor as a coping mechanism, which isn't a bad thing, but it can be. So anyway, one day I was working in a restaurant and this woman that was older than me said, "Have you ever tried going to therapy?" And I was like, "What's therapy?" I didn't even know what it was. And she's like, "Well, you go and talk to someone and they help you and blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Okay, yes, that sounds great." So I started working with this therapist and she was kind of a grandmother age. And that was really awesome. And then I met someone and I moved to Cambridge, Massachusetts. And that is where I found my therapist who would kind of introduce art to me. And one day she just said, "Well, why don't you just start trying to draw your feelings?" Because at this point, my emotions were like this. So instead of being like this anymore, I was totally what we call emotionally dysregulated. Okay. Like I didn't know I couldn't calm myself down, or I was just kind of letting the emotions drive the bus. Right. And so she had me start drawing my emotions. And by that, I mean just kind of like making lines and shapes and scribbles. And it wasn't like a fine rendering of anger. Right. And then we started laying those pieces out. And so I could start identifying, oh, when I do this, this is my anger. When I draw this. So that's kind of how it all started. And then one day I bought a table and painted it. And I started like bringing in the things that I was making. She's like, "I really think you're an artist." And of course, I was just like blown away because I was like, "What do you mean I'm an artist?" And so I decided to go to art school. So I moved to Boulder, Colorado, and I ended up going to Naropa University, which was not your typical art school. It was Buddhist inspired. So it was like East meets West. And a Tibetan monk and Allen Ginsberg started it, and Ram Dass and all those guys. And so it was really focused on, we had meditation, in each of our classes. And I had no art experience, no training. It was all my own self-taught. And they actually let me in, which that's weird. But anyway, because most art schools are very, you have to have a portfolio and, it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
So I really believe, my path was guided. So anyway, they really focused on making us aware of what we're putting out into the world. Like as a fine artist, like don't just spew stuff out there. Be conscious of what you're asking people to look at and these kinds of things, right? So when I started, I automatically started creating the body. So all my work had the figure in it. And I felt like the figure was kind of a container to tell the story, that kind of a thing, right? Because most of my figures usually didn't have gender or subtle gender references and no race. So I don't know. I think that's really interesting looking back on it 27 years ago. And then I graduated and I was a full-time artist for many years. But I started holding expressive therapies groups while I was at Naropa because I was learning about movement therapy and dance therapy and music therapy and all those things. Now, I didn't get degrees in those, but we were using them. And so I started having my own groups where people did movement and made art. And so I continued those through the years as I was making my own art. I became a painter and a mosaic artist. Those were my primary methods, of using art. So stained glass mosaics and oil and acrylic paint. And then in 2007, the United States had a, what do you call it? Recession.
Yes.
And I decided to go into public school teaching. So I taught children, 597 of them, my first year as a teacher. And that was fun. And then the next year I taught middle school. And it really was in middle school teaching that I realized I had always wanted to become an art therapist, but it's not easy. It's expensive. It's a lot of time commitment. There's a lot of things to it, right? It's a master's level degree. It took 3.5 years to get it, tons of clinical hours, and I just waited. So I was now in my 40s. And I know it was a little bit of a journey. But when I realized in teaching the kids was that it really was therapy. I mean, in the sense of they were able to emotionally regulate. They were able to express themselves. It wasn't therapy in terms of working on their personal issues, but I just saw like a collective healing occur. through art. And so I wanted to do more. So I decided to get my master's in art therapy. So I went to St. Mary of the Woods, which is in Indiana. And it's an online program and an on-site program. So I would go there 3 times a year and then go back home and do all my work and clinicals and all those things. And so I did that. And during that time, the Pulse nightclub shooting happened. And I live very close to there. And it's really important to me. And that kind of started my work with responding to disasters. I was presenting on the work that we had done at the American National Art Therapy Association, like giving a presentation on that work. And the owners of Stars of Hope, or the, what do you call it? Like the president of Stars of Hope came and he met me and we connected, and that's how I started working for Stars of Hope. And I'm still a consultant with them, but for 2 years I did about 49 incidents, 49 disaster responses. And so that was a lot of trauma, a lot of grief, but also a lot of helping people build resilience through art. So I saw really, really on a large scale, the magnitude of how art can help people. And then now I guess I would be considered more in a private practice. I'm a contractor for a company, but I run my own practice. So that's what I'm doing now. So since COVID, they moved us all online. And so I see all my clients like this. And so that's been a very interesting time, right? And just learning how can I learn more about technology. So now I have different cameras I can set up. I can move around the room so I can do the movement stuff with them. I can put my camera down so that they can see my hands making art. So it's been good. So you can see along my journey, it wasn't like I just had all this natural talent, or, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, or any of those things. So I hope that my short story here encourages you to take risk and to just do the next thing on your path, and try not to be scared to change and to grow and to learn. And because I'm still doing it every day, I'm still learning and growing every day. I'm sorry, I don't know how to turn that off.
That's all right.
So let's see. I think it was last year. You have to remind me of the name. I went to Charlotte Tapkari's. What was it called?
That's the.
It was the weekend retreat. And I can't even remember what it was called. I'm so sorry. It'll come to me in a minute.
Cosmic Reset.
Cosmic Reset. Yes, Cosmic Reset. Now, here's a great example of taking a chance and just going for it, okay? So my cousin's wife called me. I consider her my cousin. And she's like, hey, I found this Cosmic Reset thing. You want to go? And I'm like, sure. And I didn't even look at the information. Like I just said yes, because I thought Cosmic Reset sounds cool. And it was right in the middle of all these tragedies I was working on, okay? So it was like boom, 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 boom. I'm like, yes. And, I had been around a lot of these things, like being at Naropa, we had a lot of these speakers and metaphysics and all those things. But when I went to this retreat that Pari put on, it was like no thing I had ever been to, okay, first of all. And I didn't know what I was walking into. So I walked in and there was like 50 or 60 people. And the first thing we did was have food. Well, we had a little circle high thing. And then we went and ate food, which I thought, awesome, let's start off eating food, And then your dad was there. And I was like, okay, this is interesting, And then it was just beautiful because there was like so many types of speakers there. She included so many different aspects of the subject, of meditation and metaphysics and energy. And she brought in the Western aspect and the Eastern aspects. And I had just never been to something that had that much diversity in what we were there to learn. So it was like really showing me that really all these things come together and they're the same thing. So the most impactful thing that happened to me while I was there was your father kept saying, when we were meditate, don't kill the animals, and be kind, or have compassion. I think it was have compassion. And I can hear him still today in my head, in his voice, saying these things. And I was like, did he brainwash me? Excuse me. You know what I mean? But I became a vegetarian from that retreat. And I started meditating. And, you know, a couple of times I've fallen off and I ate something, meat, 2 or 3 times, and it makes me sick to my stomach. So like I can't even do it even if I wanted to now.
Right.
I find that very interesting. And I will tell you that I have never met someone that I could like feel in my body his love and his compassion. And like I said, I've never been a huge crier except for that time period. And like just sitting next to him, I just started weeping. And I was like, what is going on here? You know, I was like pretty surprised by it, but it was really beautiful too. Now, what happened during that weekend, it was only Friday to Sunday, was 3 more shootings happened in the United States. And I was just like, oh, and I was so wide open because we were doing all this work, right? So it was just really interesting, just all of that. And so, yeah, it was pretty life-changing. I came back and I worked with your sister and on some different things. And then I was lucky enough to meet you. And you're an artist.
Vice versa.
Yes, you're an artist. So that's how we connected, right? We're interested in creating something where we can do some art together.
Yes.
So what do you have for questions?
Definitely. So you have been into art therapy and you have been doing this therapeutic art. So I was wondering, like, how exactly can art therapy help people? And there is a myth saying that only the ones who know painting or who knows how to draw or to paint can only attend art therapy. So if we can bust that myth,
Okay.
and how it can actually help people.
Okay. So first of all, art therapy or process art or expressive therapies, that realm, right, is focused on the process of creation. So we're not really focusing on the outcome or the product. You know, people that do art like they were born doing art, or they went to art school, or they sell art, they're focused on the process too, but they are trying to sell a product or something usually in the end, right? So in the therapeutic arts, we're really focused on what is your process? You know, how do you use the materials? We really use the materials as a device to help access things for people. So paint would tend to be more fluid and maybe activate more emotion. If we use a pencil, that's going to be give the person more what we call reflective distance. So they would actually be able to observe maybe more than if they were in paint. So that's kind of the difference. So following your process, following your inner impulses, letting your inner guide be the voice through art. Yeah. A lot of times spiritual messages will come through or images, and sometimes you'll create something and you won't understand it for a while. But then you'll look back on it and you'll be like, oh my gosh, like that totally happened, or I've seen this image over and over, or so it's tapping a little bit into collective unconscious, you know, those kind of things like Jungian psychology, symbols. So it really is kind of a journey. It's about learning to play again. And, you know, that's in just the process type art. If we talk about art therapy, we're talking about a therapeutic relationship with a trained therapist. So art therapy falls under the umbrella of like a mental health counselor. So I have both. I do mental health counseling and art therapy together. So we use the framework of psychology to treat people through art. But what I've found is that it's really important to access the body. And my mentor, her name is Kathy Melchiati. She's been studying this for 35 years. So I've learned a lot from her. And that is one of the reasons I became a yoga teacher, to add that to my process. So when I say yoga teacher, I'm not a traditional yoga teacher where like I have a class and people come and we just do yoga. I integrate yoga into my work with people. So through breath, through through breath, through movements. I also use authentic movement. So how can it help? So, it's really having a beginner's mind. You've heard that saying, I'm sure, in meditation, right? Having a beginner's mind and really allowing yourself just to show up for this experience that maybe you've never had. Now, culturally, a lot of cultures have art very built into their culture. In the United States, not so much, but other places, yes, right? Like there's certain holidays where we create I don't know what it's called, but the art on the ground with the chalk and the flowers, and or people make mandalas with the sand, the monks. So art is a way of life for a lot of cultures, but still doing expressive arts would take you out of that and bring you into just you and the art. So how does it help? Well, it gives us an outlet to express things that maybe we don't have words for. Okay. It gives us the ability to maybe express things that are happening in our body, sensations and feelings, and just things that, like, again, we don't have words for. It's kind of about meaning making. So if you have an experience and you really haven't been able to make it come together in your head, kind of like my fire, it's a way to make meaning out of circumstances that maybe weren't as pleasant or that are pleasant, right? Like the birth of a child, that can be a very positive thing, but a mother also goes through many other feelings related to that, right? Like, where am I in this thing? And of course, I'm speaking from, a white woman in the United States. We have to have cultural awareness of other things, other cultures. And so in other cultures, the baby is engulfed by the whole family, but here in America, we tend to be very isolated and very small units of family. So we have to look at cultural awareness as well when we're talking about these things. So I just want you to know that I do have that in my mind. And so, evidence-based studies have shown that doing this kind of work really helps our brain. So it helps us integrate both sides of our brains. We have a lot of activities that we can do that stimulate both sides, have them work together, reduces anxiety. Even 45 minutes of, even 15 minutes of art can reduce cortisol levels. But when you get into 45 minutes, you're doing major health for your body. You can kind of think of it as a lot of times people will combine and say meditative art. So it can be so many different things. You can apply it and it helps you. It just helps calm your body, calm your nervous system. We can also use it to activate the nervous system if we're trying to accomplish something else. We can upregulate, downregulate. It helps us regulate our emotions, learn to manage them better so we can see them playing out in front of us. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that one thing that it does just creatively for people is it activates the creative self, right? And to me, the creative self is what we're born with, what we come into this world with. Like, I think all of us are creative. And we apply that creativity to whatever we do, whether we know it or not. I mean, accountants are creative. They have to figure out how to make the numbers work. And, engineers, they have to build the programs. And that all takes creativity. So I kind of think everybody is an artist. And so I feel like when I'm doing my expressive arts groups, I help people find that, access that part of themselves, and it's fun. The work as an art therapist in the clinical setting is very much about the relationship together. In the expressive arts groups, it's more, I think, about the person and self relationship. Does that make sense? Yeah. So in the therapeutic setting, the therapist is acting as kind of holding space, which is both. We do it in both. But there is a safety and trust that's built. Same with expressive arts, but less intense because we're not there to like work on deep trauma issues, right? A lot of times in a therapeutic relationship, we could be working on some hard, deep stuff.
So how can I express myself through art?
On your own? Or with,
Not on my own, but if an art therapist is here to help me, and how is it that I can express myself? Then how does a facilitator?
what does it look like in a
What
therapy
is the
session?
role of the facilitator in making me express myself in that?
Well, so we can't really make you express yourself, right? But the first thing that we would do is, I mean, we can kind of assume that everybody has some level of trauma, especially where we're at in the world today. I mean, this whole COVID thing has definitely traumatized people. It's not normal. We've really never experienced being isolated from people for so long. And it just depends on where you are in the world too, and what the rules are, and etc. We're like this now. We don't even see each other's whole faces, at least in the United States. That's a little bit different. So anyway, the first thing that we're going to do is create safety. We have to create safety. So whether we're working in a therapeutic, like true therapeutic relationship, or we're just having expressive arts facilitation, we're going to build in some safety. So we'll have some rules or, like protocols in place to help you know how to keep yourself safe, and the facilitator as well. And so we would even do art around that. So there's art things we can do, like we can make grounding objects. So, for example, those little tin boxes that mints come in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Mm.
Like you buy a box of mints and it's a little tin, and
Right.
after you eat the mints, you have that left. So sometimes we use those and we put art in it and around it, and we create, and people can hold that in their hand. And so we create safety. Okay.
Mm.
I mean, if we have trauma, it's going to organically come out through art making. That's just a thing. And that's why expressive arts or art therapy works. And expressive arts therapy, because there has to be a body component. I think just making art alone sometimes isn't enough. So including some movement. And so how do I mean, it's not really my goal to make you express something you're not ready to express, right? Like, so your psyche is going to let it come when it comes. What I would do and what I would suggest and what I would teach is that, like, how to deal with it when it does come. Like, how do you take care of yourself? How do you regulate your emotions? Because, really it's not about, well, it is about the story. So it's about the story, but really we're just trying to release the energy of that trauma. Like when we get into talking about body work like yoga and authentic movement, somatic expression, we hold those traumas in our body and our nervous system. So in those body practices, we will have releases. And we don't necessarily need to know, oh, this was about the sexual abuse, or, oh, this was about blah, blah, blah. We can just have the release. Right. And then sometimes in the art making, we make meaning out of what the release is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It's something really, really so nice to know about all these things, and these are some things which all of us need to learn. See, each and every person has so much of pain inside, so much of emotional, mental, and these kind of things, or griefs, or um, like as you have experienced in your life, like this, like the standard mode, like you're unexpressive and you have apathy, you're just apathetic. For such kind of people, it will be really helpful for them to get through this therapeutic art, and so like right now, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
You can get in touch with me at my website. So it's www.stephanierayarts.com.
Right.
So I don't know. Should I put it in the chat?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
So this website is called www.stephanierayarts.com, wherein you can get in touch with her. She has a calendar wherein she can give you a complimentary class. If
Yeah, I do. We'll do a little 15-minute discussion. There's a way to sign up on my calendar. It is Eastern Standard Time in the United States. But if someone needed a different time, you can email me from there as well. And also, when you go on there, this little drop-down menu comes on, and you can sign up to receive whatever updates are coming or classes are coming. And Pari and I have been talking about, let's create something online. Let's do some art classes online, expressive arts classes. So art for process type things, which I'm really excited about. And so that's how you can get a hold of me, learn more about art therapy on there. And yeah, I have lots of writing on there. Also, my art's on there. Not so much my process art, but sometimes the lines are blurred now as a fine artist and as an art therapist. It's kind of hard to separate it, you know?
yes,
Did someone else join?
yes, yes. She's Madhu. Madhu, you can maybe. She's Madhu from Germany.
Hi.
She's a dear friend of
Hi.
mine.
Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Pariyaka.
She,
It's great.
hi. Madhu, she's also an artist. She draws beautiful mandalas. I get blown away with her designs and her art and the creativity that she has.
Right.
She's also a beautiful artist, and she. Would you like to talk to her, Madhu?
Yes. Thank you so much, Stephanie. That was wonderful hearing you. I'm an artist, but it's the first time for me meeting an art therapist.
Okay.
Lately, I started teaching art. I work on a recycled bottles.
Okay.
So later I started doing that. When I started doing that, people have shared their experiences that the ones who have never touched a brush, once they started painting, they have come out of their depressions and they heal themselves because that's what made them happy.
Yeah.
So when they are happy mentally, I think that's what affects their physical health as well.
Of course.
So yeah, so
absolutely.
that's true.
That's beautiful. You're doing that. I want to see what you're doing. That sounds wonderful.
There's
Yeah,
something behind you, Madhu. Can you show that?
Yes, please.
You said you're doing it on plastic bottles?
No. It's a glass wine bottles I'm doing it on.
Oh.
And this I've been painting from 5 years. I go very slow, and it's
wow.
It's all mandala. It's all with acrylic colors.
And what's the surface you're painting on? Glass?
No. This one is canvas.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So
yeah. So you kind of
on the glass.
Yeah.
On the glass, this is my water bottle.
Oh, beautiful. Are you using acrylic?
So yeah, I use acrylic, and then I bake it in the oven so that it seals the paint.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
And so when you do this, people are finding it. Do you only do mandalas? Or other?
I'm more into mandalas. I feel good when I do mandalas. I feel very grounded. So
yeah, grounded. Yeah. That's a great word. So yes. You can see from your example that it really, art is inherent in people, and healing, self-healing is inherent in people. I am honored to be an art therapist and all that, and I'm glad that I did it. But before I was an art therapist, I knew that art healed me, and doing art healed me. And we always have to be careful when we say, art therapy heals. But let's just put that aside. We know that we are creative beings. And so, of course, when someone gets the opportunity to actually be creative, their depression is going to be lifted. Their spirit is going to be freed because we come from creation. So how can we be here on this planet and not create? It doesn't even make any sense to me. Right?
Very true.
But we don't. But we do this thing where we make it like, oh, artists, have this special thing that they come out of the womb with, and especially when it comes to like when people can render things like perfectly as they are in real life, people think that's an artist. So that is a
Mm.
skill that is a way of
Yes.
seeing, and it's perspective. And some people are naturally born seeing that way. They see dimensionally. They're able to look at an object and see it in 3D. Other people, we have to work at it. It's kind of like math. And we have to train ourselves and use the points and all that stuff. I'm not into that, but whatever. But I honor it and think that it's cool. But that doesn't make me not an artist because I can't render something perfectly. You know, I can render pretty good, but it took me practice, right? It wasn't natural for me. My natural gifts are color and movement, and this is not mine, but it kind of looks like mine. So color and movement. Isn't that pretty? Amazon. But color, movement, nature. You know, I like to paint flowers. I like to, and then figures. So the human body, telling the story through that container. And then movement color, which is why I love color of your art. I love Indian culture and the art and the colors, beauty and the celebration and the symbolism and all the different holidays, all the different religions. And it's so rich and deep and woven. And so do you teach the classes with the glass bottles?
Yes. Lately I started doing it because this art came to me in my meditations, in my visions. I see the geometrical patterns in my visions and then the colors. So that's how I put it on the canvas or the on the recycled bottles or on a rocks, for example. So, but lately there was this tribe. Many people have been asking me lately that why don't you teach? I've been stopping myself that I have never learned it from somebody. How will I teach? But then I pushed myself that whatever you know, because there is no technique to it. It's all about patience. Whatever I do, it's all about being there and patiently doing it without any comparison. As you said, Stephanie, everybody is an artist.
Yes.
Everyone is an artist. You know, like when we were kids, we were all doing some drawings, but afterwards, we have got so much caught up with the society or the family that we forgot that it's all in us. So I think when we bring people out in that way, I think they can be themselves. So that's how I started thinking lately. From past 1 month, I started teaching art.
Congratulations.
And it's great. Thank you, Stephanie.
Are you doing it online or in person?
I do it online. Yes, I do it online.
May have to take your
class. Please, it's I want to see your website as well. I want to learn from you as well.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I have a question for you.
Yes, yes, madam.
Oh.
Akka, is that okay?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, Stephanie. Lately, I see that many people are opting art. Taking the mandalas and coloring it. So, what do you think about it? Is it kind of an art therapy, or is it like a temporary thing, or is it like a what do you suggest for the people who are taking up all these things?
Well, I mean, I don't think coloring is art therapy in the traditional trained master's level, years of study, you know. I mean, coloring is going to be relaxing, right? Because remember a little bit ago, I said like 15 minutes of doing something creative will help reduce your cortisol levels. It's definitely, you know, you're coloring it in. So, you know, it's creating something, but it's not creating something from inside yourself, right? And I'm not saying don't do it because it does help people, but I don't consider it art therapy. I mean, I consider it coloring, and coloring relaxes us sometimes. Like those books drive me crazy. I have no patience for those really intricate, and I have about 17 of them on my shelf over here. People give them to me for gifts and stuff. But, you know, I think it discredits the field a little bit to say that here, this coloring book's gonna, you know, help you. But I mean, in terms of really working on yourself, will it help you de-stress and relax? Yes. You know, but is it gonna help you have any breakthroughs in your life? Probably not. I don't mean that way, so please forgive me. I don't mean to insult anybody.
No, that's all right.
No, that's perfect what you have said. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good perspective.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for listening to me. And I'm
Oh,
happy knowing you.
yeah. This is awesome. How do I get a hold of you? Do you have an email or?
Yes, I will write you. I'll put
Okay.
it in the chat. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give
Thank you.
Stephanie's number to Madhu, and
Okay.
maybe she can
Perfect.
get in touch with you.
Okay.
Sure, Akka.
Nice
Thank
to
you.
meet
Bye
you. You're
bye.
welcome. Bye bye.
Thank
I'm
you
here.
so much, Madhu, for coming up and speaking out. Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right.
I'm glad
So,
she asked about the coloring books.
yes, absolutely. Um, so, I just wanted to know for the viewers that who are seeing this,
Yeah.
would like to know how is your like the class going to have? Like, what are the modules that you're going to take them through? What are the stages or something? So, I mean, if you can give a little
Yeah.
glimpse, just a glimpse of it, maybe we can follow it up.
Right. So, I mean, I think the first thing, like, we're just going to assume that most people haven't done art that are going to take my class, right? And so, one of the things I'll talk about a lot is different materials. And hopefully, we'll be able to try out those materials, or at least some of them. I don't know the cost of art materials in different places. So, maybe I'll ask for people to get 2 or 3. But just going through the properties of different things like chalk pastels, oil pastels, because some people really have never touched any of these things. And so just kind of looking at what do they do and how can they work and things like that, right? So kind of introducing that. And then I think it's important to, and even maybe before that, it's important to create some boundaries for the class and maybe some ways that people can take care of themselves if anything does come up for them. If people do have a lot of trauma and stuff, it's probably good to have a therapist in place, even though we're just doing therapeutic art, or not therapeutic art, expressive arts. Stuff can come up. So to have someone in place to kind of support them through that if they need it. And then we would make art, so maybe we'd start creating a safety piece that they could have there with them while they do this process of self-development or personal development or inner searching. Then I'd probably have prompts for the different modules. So, taking a look at, let's just say, play, because I think play is really important in following your inner creative. So maybe giving some opportunity to play in the class. And then, I mean, my goal is to have I would like to do some live classes because I think that that's super important. The interaction's important. I don't feel totally comfortable yet just putting up a class with videos and just leaving people on their own. So I think it would be nice to have an in-person class. So those are some of the things. Maybe focus on certain areas. Let's say we have all women, right? So self-identity, and then also I'd consider where are all my classmates from, right? Because I want to be culturally appropriate. And maybe just working on some of those issues. So if we have a group that's just from your area or in India, maybe you can help me and we can look at some of the issues that affect you as women in your culture, right?
Definitely.
Because it's not going to be helpful just for me to talk about here because it may not be the same. So I think that's really important. Like, what is influencing us from the outside that tells us we're not good enough, or, we're not able to do this, or we can't make money from it, or we can't teach from it because we're not teachers. So really removing obstacles, removing limiting beliefs, of course, including meditation in it.
Yes,
So
absolutely. That's a very important thing for
yeah.
Anyone to find themselves. So
Yes. So we kind of go on a path, on a journey, and we do painting. Yeah.
Would you like to share with us a few people that you have worked with, without taking any names? How were they when they started art therapy, and how were they when they ended the art therapy?
Well, I want to tell you a story, and I'll answer that too. But Madhu made me remember this, okay? So about 2 weeks ago, there was this not weird series of events, but this is kind of how my life works. If you've ever seen the movie Forrest Gump,
Yes.
okay, I kind of have a Forrest Gump life. Like I just end up in these situations like, and people ask me, I'm like, I have no idea. And a lot of it is just like being open to the journey, right? Anyway, so there was this man online and he was doing a live stream, okay? And his title was, I'm going to kill myself. Trigger warning, yeah. So he basically said that he was going to do this on live stream. And I woke up in the morning and for some reason that application was on my phone and I scrolled and I saw him first. And normally I'm like, I try not to really get into that because ethically and legally that can be dangerous for me because I have licensure, I have duty to report, which I did report the broadcast, right, for self-harm. But I decided to go in there and talk to the guy, okay? And they have a call-in feature, so I'm up in his call-in and I do my disclaimer, you know, that I'm just here as a person, not as a therapist. And we go into this whole conversation, and I won't tell you all of it, but it led us on this journey. And I found out that he was an artist. And he had stopped doing art when he was 12 years old, which happens sometimes because that's when they stop teaching in the United States. But he had been an organic artist from early childhood. But his family ridiculed him and made fun of him and told him he would never amount to anything with it and that he would be on the street being a caricature artist. And he stopped doing art. And he told me how ashamed he felt when they did that and like he internalized all that stuff. So here we had this guy that was feeling, you know, suicidal ideation and not knowing what to do with his life and feeling like a failure. And his parents had both passed away in an accident. He's only 35. And he was left money, so he really doesn't have any motivation to do anything. And then we go just talking, and all of a sudden this is revealed. And like his whole perspective changed. He was like he couldn't believe it, you know? I'm not saying like his life went on to be happy. I don't even know. We hung up and I've never seen him again. But it was like, so we were both just blown away, like, whoa. So he was cut off from his creative life, right? Now, does that mean he has to go be an artist? No. But just remembering that this is when the disconnect happened for him. And then it's a deep wound, right? So hopefully he went to get help. So in my own work with people, how has art therapy helped? So how are they before and how are they after? So I would say that I have a lot of clients that come to me that are very closed down and they're very in their head. So very intellectual or very cognitive. Like, let me tell you the story. Let me tell you the story. Let me tell you the story. And they want to repeat it. And really that can be kind of traumatizing to yourself if you're always telling yourself the story of whatever the trauma was, right? Now, this is a generalization and my experience at the same time. And so once you start working with people through art and they tend to have these breakthroughs where they see something in their art or something comes out of them that they find very beautiful. In art therapy, as the art therapist, I don't really comment, is this pretty? Is this good? I don't put labels on it like that. That's really for the client to do, right? Because we're not there to make pretty art. I mean, we're there to scribble sometimes, literally. And so I think that as people, what I found with my clients is they start to have these little glimpses of beauty for themselves. They see themselves on paper, you know, or they see the story on paper. They start to make meaning out of it in a different way than their cognitive story. And it kind of lessens the intensity of that story, if that makes sense. And they can take that internal and make it external. They can, they make things, they tear them up and they make something else. So construction, deconstruction, reconstruction, right? So a lot of very metaphorical things happen. But I'm trying to think of someone that I want to talk about. But I mean, there's just so many times that, I mean, clients tell me, this has changed they always say, you have changed my life, but I know that it's not me. I'm just the facilitator, right? I'm just holding the space. I'm just giving them the tools. They have to do the work. And I think that's the important thing about the therapeutic relationship, is that they feel safe enough around me, or I've created enough safety and taught them to create safety, that they can let it unfold. But I mean, there's people that have come through art therapy that have gone on to become artists, or that have gone on to write the book they wanted to write, or gone on to go to school to become an art therapist or a different kind of therapist, or just had better relationships or found that love, and that wasn't even really the goal. But in finding yourself and allowing yourself to express in a different way through your movement of your body, through making art, it frees something in you, and it kind of brings that light back, kind of with meditation. I mean, I think there's so many important parallels between art and meditation.
Yes. Oh my God, so beautiful, Stephanie. Oh my God, um, you had blown my mind, completely blown my mind, and that's such a beautiful revelation coming from you. And wow. So this is like when people they come closed and they finally open up their wells of creativity, and they just do what they have been longing to do, on what makes them free, and on what they love to do. I
Right.
think that is what brings them to mostly.
Yeah. I mean, the trauma work can be a little more intense,
Mm-hmm.
when when someone comes to me specifically to work on specific trauma,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard anyway, but it is very powerful. And I think people heal on a deeper level than just going to traditional talk therapy, because we record those traumas in our body. We work on the client healing through different modalities. So kind of the same thing, but more intense. And, it's a specific trauma.
Yes.
So it's not just like, I'm a little depressed, I want to find myself, or I want to
Mm-hmm.
find love, or, not to lessen those pains, because those are just as real.
Yes.
But, there's people that have a lot of early developmental trauma, like before the age of 5. Right. So then we're going to work on different things that we know help work biologically or neurologically. So we're actually specifically looking at the science coupled with evidence-based directives and implement those in that way. Does that make sense?
Yes. Oh my God. And uh, I think this is the case where you have worked with the disasters, like you said, 49 disasters that you've worked with. And I can't imagine how difficult it must have been for you to do all that. And it must be, the great feeling where you have helped so many people, that really, gives you a high, that you've been able to facilitate with the tools that you have to help people. I think that's a great job that you have.
Yeah. I mean, my work with Stars of Hope, I'm still kind of even reflecting on that and trying to process it, because I did so much in such a short amount of time. And this is an interesting analogy to me. So I told you I was a waitress for 10 years. So one of the things that I'm working on now at my ripe age is not working like a waitress anymore, because what I have that mentality, right? And a lot of times when, for me anyway, back then, I was just trying to survive. And so, here I have all this experience, and I've gone through all this education and awards and blah, 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 blah. But I still many times feel like a waitress. So no matter how much things I've done or how many people I've helped, like, it's almost like I'm trying now to learn to take that in, that, I did facilitate helping a lot of people. It wasn't just me by myself, but I was the conduit through Stars of Hope to reach a lot of people. And so I'm just now being able to process the magnitude of all of that. Because for Stars of Hope, I was the program manager and I was the art therapist. So for program manager, you know, I had to like make contact on the ground, find a stakeholder in the community to work with, get volunteers, raise funds, do PR. So, I mean, I didn't do all of that all the time by myself, but I did a lot of that. And then be the art therapist. And so it was like, play all these roles, get there, get on the ground. I mean, I was lugging stars and paint and paintbrushes and setting it up and putting tables out, and with a lot of help, not just by myself. And then switch hats and be the art therapist. And then switch hats and then break it all down and then do all the follow-up at the end. So, you know, it was a lot.
Yeah.
But the thing that I really take from it is that, you know, and Kathy said this to me the other day, my mentor, Kathy Malchiati, she said, you know, that she really sees how Stars of Hope in that program helps build resiliency. And they did a study and they found that people got benefit from all three things: creating a star, seeing a star hanging in their community, and receiving a star personally. Because it kind of works that way. Sometimes people actually receive a star themselves. And then doing anniversary. So us coming back over and over, help them feel not forgotten. So art making really builds resiliency from that program to even what we're talking about. And that's how you heal. Because, you know, the traumas never really go away. The pain of living as a human on this planet doesn't always go away. So we find ways to build resiliency through meditation, through art making, through helping each other, through building community. And I think that's a lot of what we did with Stars of Hope. We do these big community events and small community events, but typically it always involved community. And I think that was a very powerful aspect. But, you know, I think that one of the things that makes people able to do a lot of things in life and do a lot of hard things and do all the things is having humility, you know, and knowing that I'm a vehicle and something's working through me, and I'm very lucky and blessed, and, you know, I worked hard to get here. But I do have that waitress mentality. So when someone says, which is why I'm always too busy, when someone says, here's your job description, which, you know, I'm like, okay, you know, I look at it and then I go do 4 times that. Because like when I was a waitress, you know, everybody else would have 3 or 4 tables, I'd have 8. You know, I would become the trainer. I would write the training manual, you know, so it's like, that's the kind of person I am. But I think to myself now, I'm like, okay, you got to choose. Like, you worked in like middle range restaurant, now you're at super fine dining. And so you have to reserve, not that I'm fancy, I'm just saying that, you know, that is a slower pace. It's more paying attention to more detail, moving in a slower way. Things look prettier in fine dining, right? Like the plates look nicer, and you have someone bringing them on a tray, so you have help. So I'm just trying, I don't know, I need to write about this because I think it's such an interesting metaphor. So that's what I'm thinking about now. Like, how can I bring the best quality to people and the best resources to people without running around? But, you know, when you come from being a waitress and then you work so hard to become all these things, like I want to do everything, you know? I want to get in touch with people everywhere and work everywhere. And that's okay too.
Yes.
So I'm just so happy to know you, and thank you for reaching out, and your family, a beautiful family.
Thank you so much. And we love you so much. God bless you for you and for the work that you're doing. It's such an amazing thing that you're doing. It's very rare. So my dear friends, whoever is watching this program right now, or who is going to watch this program ever in the future on YouTube, learn that everybody is an artist. Every person on this earth is an artist, and everyone is creative. It's just that they need to find themselves, find the creative part in themselves, and to develop that, to cultivate that, and open up your wells of creativity, and that is going to free you. I think that is the message that Stephanie is trying to tell us. And if you want to get in touch with her, please go to her website, www.stephanierayarts.com, and get in touch with her. She has a calendar and she can help you go through that process and can help facilitate you to go through the process of art therapy, which is a therapeutic art. It can do wonders to you. You can actually open up a lot of things that are the wounds that you have not yet healed, or you have to work on it. I think that's what is most mostly done during art therapy. And thank you so much, Stephanie, for taking time out for us. It has been such a lovely thing meeting you and interacting you on a whole new level, and thank you so much for that. And we look forward to a demo class from
Yeah.
you at any point of time.
Yes.
They will definitely arrange for that. We'll have a
Okay.
demo class so that people know, like, what is it exactly into, and what is it that I have to get into, and what do I have to do, so that people get more into like knowing what exactly it is. And
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
why should we do it?
We have to put our hands on it to be able to know what it is.
Yes, yes,
That'll be
definitely.
our next thing to do.
Definitely, we'll arrange for that. And
Okay.
thank you so much, Stephanie.
You're
We
so
all
welcome.
love you. Well, we all love you. Thank you so much. Mother, would you like to say something? Oh, she's not there.
All
Okay.
right. So we'll
Thank
speak.
you so much.
Okay.
Stephanie.
Thank you, everybody. Reach out if you need to, if you want to. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
All right. Bye-bye.
Namaste. Namaste.
Namaste. For sure.
Thank you so much.